Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Why is someone afraid of a narcissistic mother? Why is the narcissist mother someone to be feared, someone to be avoided, someone who really can get under our skin and make us feel horrible, unworthy, filled with self-doubt, really a very sort of negative experience, and very difficult to let that go? Well, I want you to realize how the narcissist female or the mother figure will control, especially their children. They control their children through fear. They control their children through judgment. They control their children through low self-esteem. So what they're able to do is program that child into feeling like they're never good enough. They have a way of looking at them, whether it's the evil stare, the evil look, i.e. not nurturing, not loving, not warm and affectionate. They're able to shut down the self-esteem within their children through harsh and chronic judgment. And this is always done in a form of what they call condescension, where they're belittling you, they're condescending to you. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, your hair is a rat's nest. Oh, what is that new, you have a new perfume, what is that? I mean, everything that you desire, everything that you want, everything that you have is reason for jealousy, suspicion, judgment. There's always sort of a pervasive sense of doom that they create, which is, coming out of a pervasive sense of fear. There's always a sort of disruption, a dismantling, if you will, of peace, satisfaction, contentment. They're always, especially within their childhood, within their children, they will target that child as either a scapegoat or what they call a golden child. Now, the golden child will be one particular child in the family. It can be a same sex or it can be an opposite sex. But that is going to be one child in their family who they have endeared themselves to. They've endeared themselves to in a way that maybe this child is very quiet, very passive. Maybe it's the baby in the family who becomes the golden child. This child can do no wrong. They can actually get away with quite a bit. And this child has a very different experience than the child in the family who has experienced the scapegoating. A scapegoat is someone who you innocently take all the blame, all the pressure, all the judgment, and you put it on them for no reason. So a scapegoat is like, have you ever heard, the kicking the dog syndrome? Where, someone will come home from their work and get out of here, you mutt, and they'll just take out all their aggression on this poor innocent animal. And animals do have rights. And if you're ever to abuse an animal, that's actually against the law, and you can be fined and imprisoned for animal abuse. And so animals have definitely, protection and treatment surrounding them. And it's amazing the child abuse that is engaged in for years, even when the child is an infant, when their needs are not taken care of, their needs are not validated, they're shamed for their needs. What are you crying about? And then they smack them. I mean, it's just what are you hungry for? You don't deserve any milk. And then maybe they'll throw some water at them. They'll slam doors. It creates a very hostile environment. They'll yell at them, pull their hair, grab their and shake them, shake their arms, shake their body when they're younger. So the narcissist parent is taking control over them by physically shaking them, or physically overpowering them, throwing their weight around, so to speak. The narcissist parent will reflect only negative, which is inside them a very hostile sort of mirroring of them, and that is called negative validation, where the child, which is like a blank slate, is receiving all this negative programming. They're receiving all these lies. They're receiving all these wrong messages from the parents, which are untrue. They're not founded in reality. They're not created by anything that that innocent child has done. They're created in the whiplash, the emotional whiplash that that narcissist parent is thrusting on them with all their toxic negativity, blaming, shaming. When you shame somebody, it's basically making them feel embarrassed for their very act of being alive. You know, it's creating a feeling of disassociation from them even having needs to begin with. Very natural needs like thirst, hunger, the need to be touched. You know, they're almost ridiculed for having these very needs. Ridiculed for needing a hug. You know, shamed for, you know, needing a smile. The narcissist parent oftentimes will not even so much as smile, will not even so much as give eye contact to their child. They will not so much as hug their child. They might clothe them, but they might, you know, put a meal on the table, but they will be very shame-based in that. In other words, you know, you should be grateful for all that we provide you. You know, it's these sort of condescending, you know, it's given. This is your child. I mean, you're the one who brought them into this world, and you are to provide for them. That's, you know, you're legally bound. I mean, and that's a given. You shouldn't have to defend yourself as a child, you know, well, you know, excuse me for needing a bed. Excuse me for needing, you know, a dinner. I can't prepare dinner. I'm not even of earning age yet. I cannot, you know, provide for the family. So you find also that the child then is trying to grow up too quickly. They're having to take care of issues around the house. They're having to rake when they're 5 years old. They're having to dust when they're 4. They're having to, you know, deliver things to their parents. You know, make them meals, set the table. You know, they're yelled at. They're scolded for doing, you know, for not knowing how to do these behaviors. They're ridiculed and shamed. They're asked to do age-inappropriate activities, which is a form of narcissistic control, and the narcissist mother will, you know, indulge in a lot of these behaviors, and that creates a shame, it creates a fear, and it creates a lifelong dependence on the negative reflection of that mother. Do you see how unhealthy this is? So you have to pull away, you have to separate, and realize that all those lies were embodied in the narcissist mother. They are not your true personality. They're not your true feelings. These fears, these anxieties, these were implanted in you by the narcissist mother. They were created in you from outside. They are not the true you. They are not your true essence. They are not your true connection to life. And they're a not true reflection of your identity. And I'm going to be talking about this in further depth in more videos, but I wanted to touch on it. A viewer and another viewer had chimed in also that, you know, how do you get to that stage of healing when you feel, when I suggest, you know, bring to mind some of those peaceful, pleasant times that you experienced before the abuse. What I'm referring to is the fact of your innocence. And I want you to resonate with this, and I want you to connect with this, and I want you to realize this and become aware of this. That very essence, when you came into this world, you were a pure infant. You were a blank slate. You were a young and innocent child with nothing but love. And you were giving love. And by the very act of being that infant, that is your innocence. It is that purity. It is that pure love that you reflect back to the mother, and that bonding that is your true innocence. And you very much, if you've encountered narcissistic abuse, shaming, harsh judgment, chronic narcissistic abuse from your caregivers, you definitely need to go through a series of reparenting of your inner child. And this is explained in no better terms than the awesome John Bradshaw in his book called Reclaiming the Inner Child. And the title is called Homecoming, Reclaiming the Inner Child. I can't give enough praise to his work here. Excuse me. The exercises in that book are phenomenal. I myself have gone through these myself. If you cannot get the book in your bookstore, you can get it on eBay, usually for very inexpensive. You can get a used copy. I believe he has exercises through YouTube. He does have a series called Homecoming. Also, the book called The Shame That Binds You is incredibly powerful. And these works, John Bradshaw describes the taking of the adult you and creating a situation, remembering a situation for yourself when you were a young child, and perhaps you were going through, shaming. You were being insulted by your parent figure. You were being told these lies. You were being told these wrong messages. They were implanted in you, and they created a feeling of weakness within you as you entered into your young adult and adult life. So if you can bring up these feelings that have occurred when you did not feel well equipped to handle situations. If you think maybe back to some of your first jobs, and you feel, I'm not like the other kids. I don't have the parenting. My parents didn't take care of me. They didn't equip me, and yet you had to still press forward, and you felt an impending sense of doom that you'd be found out, that you weren't good enough, that you were treated abusively, that you were treated hostilely, that you were hit across the face, that you had your nails dug into you, that you were burned with a cigarette, you were controlled by a narcissist, or worse yet, a sociopath or a psychopathic parental figure. You have to realize that now that you've come into an adult, you yourself are an adult, you have to embrace that young, wounded inner child, and you have to reparent them. You have to take them out, and you have to give them what that abused parent did not give them. You have to give them the affection. You have to give them the permission to cry. You have to give them the permission to talk and share their feelings. You have to be able to listen to them. You have to be able to comfort them in their times of need. You might even want to, this is very, very important stuff, and I'm going to do a lot of videos of this, and I can be, very series oriented if you wish, and kind of give a breakdown of this. But it's very important to get that book and to partake of the exercises which John Bradshaw describes as reparenting your inner child. Taking that wounded inner child, taking it by the hand, walking it to school, telling them you are loved, everything is going to be all right. I'm going to be here for you when you get back home, and we're going to talk about your school today. We're going to talk about your lessons, and I'm so excited for your first day of school. This is so wonderful for you. You're going to meet all sorts of new friends, and you're going to learn all sorts of new courses, and you're going to learn all sorts of new classes, and it's going to be so new. You're going to be learning so much every single day. I can't wait till you get home until you can share it with me. And you're walking your inner child to school, and you're there for them to greet them with a big smile and a big hug when they get back from school. This is an example of how to reparent your wounded inner child. And you return to that state of innocence, which is the infant you, before you receive the abuse. There is a gentle, innocent, loving you before this abuse. For people, it occurs at different stages. If you were parented by a narcissistic, abusive parent, it is there at your birth. It is there in your infancy. It is there in your infancy. It is there in your toddlerhood. And now that you're an adult, and now you're realizing this, you've got the qualities of being an adult. You're learning now. You know what love is. It's a very simple expression of acceptance, and of listening, and of holding, and of securing, and of talking to in a nurturing, emphatic, positive regard, mirroring sort of manner, where you call them your love, you call them your sunshine. How are you, my sunshine? How are you, my love? How are you, my dear? How are you, my angel? And you call your inner child by that name. and you develop a relationship and a connection with that little child, and you pick them up and you hold them and you give them a bath even though they're 1 or 2 months, however old they are, and you start to reparent yourself. And it is you who can reconnect with that wounded inner child and let go of that fear, because now you're taking care of them. It's a pretty deep psychological concept and exercise. Would definitely recommend getting the book, John Bradshaw, Homecoming, and also The Shame That Binds You. Please read those, please study. It's very important very powerful healing tool for those who have suffered narcissistic abuse by the hands of a parent. I'm very sorry that occurred, but there is a way out and a way for you to actually heal through it completely. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos help. Definitely more videos on this topic coming to you in the future. Please share, please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support. God bless.